Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about laws of exponents part 2. If you haven't watched part 1, you're going to want to do that first. But now let's move on to the next set of rules. Our first rule here is the exponents to the 0 power, and our rule is that anything to the 0 power is 1. So for example, we've got x to the 0 power, that's going to be 1. Then we've got y negative 3, y times y to the positive 3. And as we remember our rule from last time where we're going to add things together, negative 3 plus 3 is going to give us 0. Since it's negative 3 and positive 3 are going to give us 0, we're going to end up with y to the 0 power. And as we just talked about, anything to the 0 power is 1. So our answer there is also 1. Now let's take a look at our next rule. So here we're talking about negative exponents, and with negative exponents, our rule is to take the reciprocal of the base, and we have some steps to do that. So the first step is we're going to move all of the negative exponents in the numerator to the denominator. Then we'll move all the negative exponents from the denominator to the numerator, and then we're going to simplify. So for example, we've got x to the negative 5th. So we're going to take that number, we're going to move that from the numerator to the denominator. So we're going to end up with 1 over x to the positive 5th. So anytime that it moves from the numerator to the denominator, it is the reciprocal. It becomes positive. So in this case, we took our negative, put it in the denominator, and it became positive. All right, our next one there, we've got 7x to the negative 9th, y to the negative 3rd. So again, we're going to go moving things that need to be moved to the numerator from the denominator because we only have a positive 1 in the top, so we don't have anything to move from the top to the bottom. The 7 is going to remain in the denominator because the 7 is not negative, nor would it matter because it's a number, it's not an exponent. So the 7 is going to remain in the denominator, but the x to the 9th is going to come to the numerator, and the y to the negative 3rd is going to become y to the positive 3 in the numerator. That brings us to the end of this one. Let's go on to the next example. So here we've got example A where we've got 5x to the negative 2nd, y to the negative 5th. So again, we're going to be moving things from the denominator to the numerator. The numerator is 1, so there's nothing to move there. The 5 is going to stay on the bottom because it is positive and it's also a number, so it's not going to be moving at all. X to the negative 2nd is going to become x to the positive 2nd, and y to the negative 5th is going to become y to the positive 5th. So again, we've got x squared times y to the 5th over y. No other things can be simplified because these are the only variables, x and y. They don't combine. They're not like terms. And now let's move on to example B. So here we have example B, and we've got a lot going on here. So we've got things inside the parentheses that we first have to take care of. Then we're going to be raising everything to the negative 4th power. So let's start with inside the parentheses. So inside the parentheses, we first have to simplify the 12 over 4. So we know that 12 over 4, 12 divided by 4 is going to be 3, and that's going to stay in the numerator because the 12 was bigger, and 12 divided by 4 is positive 3, not a fraction. Then we've got to flip some of our variables there. So x to the negative 3rd has to go down to the denominator. X to negative 6 has to come up to the numerator. So we've got x to the 6. Then our y's also have to flip because they're negative. So we're going to end up with y to the 2nd in the numerator and y to the 6th in the denominator. So far, so good. Still inside the parentheses, still raised to the negative 4th power. Now we have to practice our subtraction rule that we talked about last time. So again, our 3 isn't going to change. That's going to stay the same. So we've got the 3 is going to stay in the numerator. That's not going to change here. But the x to the 6 minus x to the 3rd, the 6 is bigger, so it's going to stay up top, and it's going to become x to the 3rd power, or x cubed. Then the y to the 2nd, y to the 6th. Okay, the 6 is going to go to the bottom because the 6 is bigger, and then 2, so 6 minus 2 is 4, so we've got y to the 4th on the bottom. And then we've got, again, everything raised to the negative 4th. All right, so now we've got an ability to start to use the power, but the power is negative. So just like before, we have to flip the numerator and the denominator. So to make that exponent positive, we're going to put y to the 4th in our numerator. We're going to take 3x to the 3rd to our denominator, and that is going to cause our exponent to now become positive 4. So now that we've done that, we have to take our exponent, put it to everything inside the parentheses like we talked about last time. So y to the 4th power is going to be y to the 4th times y to the 4th times y to the 4th times y to the 4th, which is going to leave us with y to the 16th on the top. And on the bottom, we have to do 3 to the 4th power. So 3 times 3 times 3, which is going to, and times 3 is going to be 81. And we got to do x to the 3rd to the 4th power. So x to the 3rd times x to the 3rd times x to the 3rd times x to the 3rd is going to be x to the 12th. And that's it. That's as far as we can go because we can't combine like terms any further. So there were a lot of steps there to follow through. But now we're on to the last example. Here we are at example C, and it is a doozy. So we've got a lot of rules all happening at the same time, so we're going to take it a piece at a time, break it down, and see where we can go from there. So the first thing that we've got is fractions that we have to reduce both of them or simplify them as much as we can before we try multiplying them together. So I've got 4/6, x to the 7th, y to the negative 3rd on top there, 6x negative 1, to the negative 1st, and y to the negative 4th on the bottom. So I'm first going to deal with just that side of the problem. So we've got 4/6, which is going to reduce to 2/3. So we'll start there, 2/3 with our reduction. Now we need to move things that need to go to the denominator, to the numerator, etc., etc. So that x to the negative 1st, that's going to come up and combine with the x to the 7th that's already there. So we'll end up with x to the 8th, because 1 plus 7 is 8. Then we're going to have to bring the y's. They're going to flip. So we're actually going to get the y to the negative 3rd on the bottom. So that's going to be y to the 3rd to the bottom. And y to the negative 4th is going to come up to be y to the positive 4th. Now we're going to do our subtraction. So our subtraction is going to give us y to the 4th minus y to the 3rd. So when we're all done and simplified here, we'll have 2/3. The 2 is on the top. The 3 is on the bottom. X to the 8th is going to stay on the top, and positive y is going to be on the bottom. So that handles just the first fraction. We now need to work with the second fraction. So this one, we've got exponents, and we've got some negative exponents and things that we need to move up. So we can see that right now the x to the 4th is going to go to the bottom because that negative 4 is going to get converted to the bottom. The y, however, is going to stay on the top. Because it's positive, we'll just leave it there for now because we have to move the entire exponent there because we have to do everything in the parentheses here to the 3rd power. Because it's a negative, everything's going to be going to the numerator once we've done that. So 2 to the 3rd power, 2 times 2 times 2 is going to give us 8. X to the 3rd power, so x to the 3rd times x to the 3rd times x to the 3rd is going to give us x to the 9th. And then y to the 5th is going to be y to the 5th power to the 3rd is going to be y to the 5th plus y to the 5th plus y to the 5th. So that's going to be y to the 15th, but we already have this y sitting up here, so we're going to end up with y to the 16th. So now this fraction, again, is not simplified because now we need to do subtraction with the x's. So x to the 9th minus x to the 4th. X to the 9th is bigger than the 4th, so it's going to stay on top. And when we simplify this one, we're going to end up with 8, x to the 5th, y to the 16th. All right, so now that we have our two fractions reduced, or our two sides reduced, now we can multiply them together. So on one side, we're going to have 2/3 x to the 8th, y to the 1st. And on the other side, now we've got times 8, x to the 5th, y to the 16th. All right, so now we're going to apply our rules where we're going to just be multiplying and we're going to be adding the bases as necessary. So 2 times 8 is going to give us 16, so 16 is going to stay on the top. 3 has nothing to multiply by on the bottom, so it's just going to stay on the bottom as 3. X to the 8th and x to the 5th are going to add together, so 8 plus 5 is going to give me 13, so we got x to the 13th on top. Y to the 1st and y to the 16th are going to add to y to the 17th on the top as well. So this is our final answer here, 16/3, because 16/3 can't be reduced. There's nothing that goes into 16 and 3 evenly. X to the 13th, y to the 17th on the top. That brings us to the end of this problem. It also brings us to the end of this set of notes. If you like this video, go ahead and throw us a thumbs up. If you love this video, go ahead and throw us a sub, and we will catch you in the next one.